Imagine for a second that you are standing all alone in a place that's 5.5 million square kilometers. It's a landscape that acts less like a forest and more like a single, massive, living creature. We all have this picture of the Amazon as just a thick green jungle, right? But for 7 days, the challenge isn't just to look at it, it's to survive it, with absolutely nothing.
And those are the words that kick this whole thing off. The stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking 7 days, trying to stay alive in an ecosystem that's defined by one thing: constant liquid change.
And if you really want to get a sense of the scale of this challenge, just look at that number: 5.5 million square kilometers. That is the sheer size of the world one person is up against, completely by himself. Okay, so let's get into this, because that suffocating feeling you get in the jungle, the insane heat, the humidity, it's not just random. It's all being driven by this enormous system that you can't even see. And this is the part you've got to understand. We all know about the Amazon River, the one on the ground. But there is another one, a river in the sky, a kind of sky sea that controls every single breath you take and every move you make down on the forest floor. Yet scientists actually call them flying rivers. The forest literally makes its own rain. You've got hundreds of billions of trees just pumping moisture straight up, creating their own weather systems. It's incredible. And that is what makes the air feel so, well, roasty-toasty and just impossibly heavy. And get this, a single large tree can push over 1,000 liters of water vapor into the air every single day. That's more than 260 gallons. Now multiply that by billions of trees, and you start to get a picture of the power of this invisible aerial ocean. It's staggering. All right, so let's bring it back down to the ground level and see how this all plays out. On that first night, the immediate challenge is just finding a safe place to rest. But you learn very quickly that in the Amazon, every single inch of space is already taken. It's occupied by life. And here is the first kind of cruel irony of survival out there. You are surrounded by water. You're sweating out gallons of it, but you can't touch a drop. The rivers are just filled with bacteria and parasites. So every single sip of water requires this tiny little ritual, a drop of iodine, a 15-minute wait, that is literally the only thing standing between you and total collapse. Now this is why even cooling off in the river is a huge calculated risk. The very water you need to survive is patrolled by a whole crew of nibblers and predators. You can't just step into the water. You have to slide your feet along the bottom just in case something is waiting there. And this quote, man, this really gets to the psychological battle of that first night. You're in total, absolute silence. But the darkness isn't empty. It's filled with thousands of tiny little reflections from your headlamp, and every single one of them is an eye watching you from the water. You see, in the Amazon, there is zero room for error. A moment of overconfidence, one simple mistake, it doesn't just set you back, it can have immediate, severe, and really painful consequences. So check out this frantic chain of events. You're just trying to clear a path, you hit something you didn't even see, a wasp nest, and the attack is instant. 15 stings to the mouth, the throat. The only way out is pure instinct, a trick learned from indigenous tribes. You bolt for the campfire and you dive straight into the smoke. But then, just like that, the solution becomes the next problem. The firewood, which was conveniently right there next to camp, turned out to be a toxic vine. So for 3 nights, breathing in those fumes leads to this horrible lung-clogging infection that makes every breath a struggle. Painful mistakes like these force a total change in strategy. So you're getting beaten down on the land. What do? Well, you change the game entirely. The big turning point in this journey comes from a huge shift in strategy, from hunkering down against the jungle to moving with the water. And this is the key question, right? Because during the wet season, the forest floor literally disappears. The whole place turns into a massive freshwater sea. So to survive, you can't fight it. You got to join it. And this is the secret weapon, a dugout canoe. Talk about a game changer. All of a sudden, the rivers aren't obstacles anymore. They're highways. They open up this massive freshwater labyrinth of thousands of islands. And this newfound mobility, it reveals one of the most incredible sights in the entire Amazon, the meeting of waters. This is where 2 absolutely colossal rivers flow side by side for miles, but their waters don't mix. It looks like someone just drew a line straight down the middle.
So why don't they mix? Well, it all comes down to some pretty simple physics. Their temperature, their speed, their density, they're just completely different. You've got the dark, warm, slow Rio Negro, and it just can't merge with the cooler, faster, sediment-filled Solomos. Now, this journey on the water, it does more than just change the physical reality of survival. It triggers this profound psychological shift, a completely new way of seeing the world you're in. You know, after days of moving with the river instead of against the jungle, the whole mindset changes. The focus isn't on escaping anymore, on dreaming about burgers and pizza. It's about being totally present, right here, right now. And being that present leads to this absolutely mind-blowing realization. This so-called untouched wilderness, well, it's not untouched at all. In a lot of places, the very ground you're walking on is something called terra preta, or dark earth. It's a super rich soil that was engineered by ancient societies over 2,000 years ago. So what does this all mean? It means the Amazon isn't just a natural space, it's a cultural landscape. This whole survival journey isn't happening in some pure, empty wilderness. It's happening in an ancient, inhabited, and engineered world.
And that really brings the entire experience full circle. The goal of surviving the Amazon becomes less about conquering a hostile place and more about finding your own place within its ancient, complicated rhythm.
Which really leaves us with a final question for you to think about. Is the challenge of a place like the Amazon all about enduring a wilderness that we're separate from? Or is it about learning to understand a complex system that we are and always have been a part of?